All right. I guess we're live. Thanks for
Cool.
joining us. And I'm Don Greilich. And why doesn't everybody introduce themselves?
I'm Thomas Greilich.
Elizabeth Greilich.
And James Growler.
All right. All right. We're last minute trying to set this up.
us.
And please, I'm Don Greilich. Excuse our um, lack of preparedness. It was about 45 minutes ago before I figured out exactly how we were going to do this with everybody. Um, so what do we got for questions, Elizabeth?
Well, we had a question from Odd Name in the Discord on how the Endeavor has taken a better, worse, or as expected turn throughout the process of putting
Uh,
out the product.
oh, well, I don't really know how to answer that. It's definitely been a brand new experience, so it definitely has not gone as expected. But the
What does?
the just putting this out and making it available for people, as far as all the work that goes into it and all the things that I didn't know that I needed to know to do it. But we're learning and we're moving forward. I feel pretty good. It looks like Tally Boatwright had to skate, but he's been doing some great testing for us with ER32. And so I guess as far as that goes, I didn't see ER32 or ER25 coming at the beginning, so pretty pretty happy about that. Um, hello, Sweden. Um, so um, let's see. I did say that we were going to talk about the the function and how it works, and so I'll see if I can do that. Yeah. Wade Custon says, I'm surprised one fit into you or someone isn't trying to get to you. Well, nobody's really tried to get to us yet. I think everybody's waiting in the wings to see what happens. So, howdy from Italy. Hello, Italy. Good to see you. It's really, I'll tell you what, one thing that has been, I don't know that it was expected or unexpected, but being able to talk to you guys all the way around the world on the Discord has really been fantastic. I mean, I'm just a
Yeah.
tinkerer, you know. I stumbled on this thing, right? And I just knew guys were going to dig it, you know, because it, I mean, it works great. So Germany, all right, man. Um, so you know, it's pretty cool to be able to be a part of the community and get to know a lot of you guys. And what a great community, man. You know,
Yeah, it's
the
been
C-
fantastic.
the
It's
CNC
awesome.
community is really cool. I've been a tinkerer all my life. I've worked in a number of different mediums: sign business, construction, um, just a plethora of different things. Nova Scotia, Canada. All right. Um, so you know, it's it leaves me speechless sometimes.
Yeah, the community has been a huge help when it comes to the development for Rapid Change ATC. So, what about touching on where we started with your first video and kind of that dinosaur of an ATC to the sleek design that we've got going on now?
I'm gonna turn your volume down just a little bit, Elizabeth. Um, oh, now I'm gonna screw up the screen. What did I do? There we go. Okay. I definitely don't know what I'm doing with this live stream stuff, so forgive me. I was tripping out about an hour ago, freaking out, wondering how we were gonna do this, and thank God it just kind of fell together. So,
Yeah, we got it dialed in.
okay, yeah. So, um, my goodness, I'm sorry. Could you?
How'd we start? Where'd we from where we started with this?
Yeah, why don't we just start with, exactly what needed to be developed to even make this work and where you and James start
All
at the
right.
very understand how it works.
Okay. So I'm really cluttered. If you could see the shop behind me, it's pretty clean to what it used to look like when I had it all to myself. So, um, I got tired of looking for my cutters. I got tired of looking for my wrenches because it took me probably 10, 15 minutes every time I needed to change a tool. And I was like, all right. So I looked around. I seen some of the devices with an extra motor and a wrench that slides in. And I thought, well, that ain't going to work. That's slower you know, than using wrenches. So I just got this idea that maybe I could set up a little pick and place deal. And I don't know what I did with it. I should have pulled it out. But anyways, so I set up a little socket on some springs. I carved it out, and I thought, well, maybe the spindle can pick and place the cutter. And um, and so I never expected it to really accomplish anything other than picking up the tool, spinning it on. I figured it could do that, but it was a little bit of, tap, tap, tap till it sucked it up, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then I didn't have reverse on my spindle at the time, so when I went to crack it, it was a lot tighter than I thought it was going to be. And so I tried it again, and I just plunged the spindle down into in and it got it really tight. And so I thought, um, I need to see if I can do something with this. So
That it's
so I
just a tool holder, essentially.
it was just going to be a place to pick and place the cutters. A little pocket for everyone, so I knew where they were, and let the spindle spin it on, grab a pair of wrenches, and snug it down and crack it before I dropped it off. Um, but it turned out that it got it tight, and so tight, as tight as I would. I had to play with the speeds. The RPMs is what really drives the torque to the clamping nut. So the way it happens is the inertia from the spindle gets that mass rotating, and when it engages with um, the clamping nut, threads it on. It's being held against rotation with the socket that has limited contact points. So it just spins in there, and the mass of the spindle drives the torque to the clamping nut. Little bit of resistance, it doesn't get it all the first time, so we back up and hit it again, and that completes the torque. It was a huge surprise, and then I ended up spending a long time before I started with a hexagon socket like you would think, and I ended up with 3 points of contact. And so, the with the hexagon shape, it would jam trying to drop it off, spinning nut into a socket, 1500 RPMs, it gets jammed. It will jam in that socket because there's so much surface area for it to wedge into. And so I played whittling the geometry down for months and months and months, and nothing. And then one day I thought, well, what if I just put 3 hardened pins in there? And that stopped it from jamming, but it really kind of did a number on the clamping nuts. So then one day I was like, well, why don't I try ball bearings? And that was it. Um, it wears the oxide coating a little bit. Depending on how sharp the corners are on the clamping nut, they could, get minor imperfections or round them over a little bit. But yeah, so from that point, I thought, wow, Well, to back up, when I first discovered that it was actually getting tight, and I thought that this might be something people would be interested in, I called James, and you're welcome to take it from here. I called him and I says, hey, do you think you might be able to take a look at this firmware, see if you can do something with it? And but you can, I'll let you tell the story.
Yeah. So I'd been you know, a hobbyist coder for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years before that, something like that. On and off, but mostly on, and tinkered with all different kinds of things, and web development to games and different things, and jumped around with a lot of different languages and things like that. So I was, you know, never really an expert on any of them, but become pretty serviceable at reading documentation and learning new systems and things like that. He called me up for Fluid NC, and I had done a little bit of C programming when I first started, but that was it, and had never done anything with C++. So I had to take some time to familiarize myself with it, and watch. I think Bart had a video where he showed hooking up a pneumatic tool changer, little tool changer on a small machine, and showed, you know, scrolled through some of his code and gave me enough hints on where to look. I spent some days reading through which it wasn't Fluid NC at the time. It was still Gerbil ESP32, and I think it took us a couple weeks till we had
2 weeks.
tool changer, yeah, tool changer running, dropping and picking up tools. So that was pretty exciting, and you know, just kind of built out from there.
I sucked him in.
Yeah.
I was like, man, we got to do this. So, you know, it was 7 months from then until I felt comfortable about actually putting it on YouTube, which is basically like a year. It's been a year since, I think the 10th was a year since I put the first video out.
We got a question on here about Flexi Hal. Are you familiar with that?
All right, so if I understand this correctly, FlexiHal is a controller hardware breakout board, and Rocco is working on GerbilHal,
Okay.
which works with FlexiHal. Is that right? Or is FlexiHal, it could be controller and firmware, but I'm, yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah,
I know
I'm
that
not familiar
FlexiHal
with it.
makes a board, I'm pretty sure. Uh, but whether FlexiHal is separate from GerbilHal, I think it actually is. But
The name would suggest that maybe it's based on Gerbil Hal. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know. There's so many.
um,
There's so many that.
So
I think I've gotten the two confused. Um, but so right now, I would have to say no because I think it is a separate animal from GerbilHal. Um, we do have a
so
guy working on GerbilHal, but
to summarize, so we can understand, the components that work together are the geometry that was created to hold collets in a fixed position, along with the momentum of the spindle run by the code that James developed, correct? So the code that runs the spindle works with the tool holder to create automatic tool changes, correct?
yeah,
Okay. And so
yeah.
if you were able to write your own code, depending on no matter which software you were using, like the one just mentioned, you could get it to work if you can write your own macros for it, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm. And then I
Any.
was, go ahead.
I was just gonna say any system that supports, you know, uh, writing custom macros for a tool change for M6 should be pretty simple to get to work. You know, especially building a solution for yourself where you can determine exactly how you want it to behave, and you know, as we're building solutions, and more people are using it. We have more and more uh, fine tuning configuration to include so that people can kind of everybody can get the functionality that they need for them. And but somebody for themselves that was familiar with scripting uh, in their controller platform software, whatever they're using, uh, you know, should be able to handle it and get something going for themselves without too much trouble. Probably, I would assume a whole lot simpler than scripting a traditional ATC system into your uh,
Yeah.
workflow.
Yeah, so I just was working with Guillaume NC Chips on the Discord yesterday. He's got a post processor deal for Masso, and I had him explain it to me. I've got a Masso set up right there behind me. I got Masso hooked up on that little machine, and so the way his works is it calls an M98 subfunction, and he's able to put it into um, Fusion 360, and then the post processor will spit out this um, subroutine, and it's basically a G code file that will. There's a separate one for. Hey, Guillaume. Guillaume just popped in and said hi, and Cody, good to see you. Thanks everybody. I appreciate everybody coming out and supporting us here. Um, Hopefully we'll get a little bit better, and our content might be just a little bit more streamlined and set up ahead of time. But uh, you got to start somewhere, right? um, so uh, anyways, it was pretty simple. It was a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be. And it just reads that, it pulls that M98, it runs the file that does either a pickup or a drop off. So um, I'm I'm getting ready to play around with that hopefully a little bit tomorrow so that I kind of get an experience of it, and
And
so
really,
I can
with
let people know what I think.
the new solution that you have in place for the dust cover, controlling it with the switches,
Yeah, yeah,
that really brings a lot more solutions, I think, available to us because
yeah,
we don't have to worry about an extra axis or
yeah,
having an output. So for those controllers that don't have an output to spare, and really without having to activate an output, the whole tool change can be run on most supported G code. Because um, I believe that a lot of G code supports reading and input. So we could branch. You can branch on for the input for the tool recognition. Simply through conditional G code,
yeah.
like we do with Centroid.
For the infrared sensor,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
That can.
the yeah, it seems to be a little easier than I thought it would be to read that sensor. But the nice thing about the new dust cover, and I was gonna kind of show all that, but the way we ended up doing this with um, Discord to get everybody together, I'm not exactly sure if I can. Oh, you know what? Let me. I'm gonna um, switch this camera if I can. I'm not sure exactly how I'm gonna do this, to be honest. Oh, here it is. All right. Let me see something.
You lost your volume.
Yep.
No,
Did I go away?
no, you did for a moment. You're back.
Okay. Um, Let me see something here. You need about 3 monitors to do this right, I think. Okay. Uh-oh. Oh, that was the wrong one. Here we go. All right, I'm going to cover myself up right here for a second. And how's that working out? Okay, I think that's gonna work.
It looks like you covered it all up.
I know,
Oh,
but it's coming back.
oh, I see.
All right. Do 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 do. Oh, okay. All right. I can't even see what I'm doing here. So,
You're not on the screen.
what's that?
You're not. Nothing you're doing is on the screen.
I'm gonna be in a second, I think.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah, no, you're good.
All right. I can't even see where I'm at, so you guys are gonna have to help me out.
No, you're good right there.
Oh, you know what? I gotta.
You might want to slide that board in front of the magazine if you want to show the test board.
Okay. I just wasn't sure where I was at. All right, so I've got this little test board hooked up with a UC300. Can you see that? No? Yeah. I didn't get a chance to mount it to there, but so we this dust cover will operate. I gotta turn it on. So the dust cover now we've got it hinged at the back, and the cord from the how's that? That's not bad. So this will operate from a from an output. It's just a matter of closing the circuit. So with a little rocker switch like this, it's very smooth. Got NEMA 17 motors, very smooth, very nice. So this could be wired up in parallel to a limit switch, which I have. I've outfitted both of my Fluid NC and my Centroid up to it that way. So as the axis moves over the tool changer, you know, it opens up. And then you can wire in parallel a switch like this so that you can um, open it up at will no matter where it's at, where the gantry's at. So we uh, we we hook this up on every magazine before it goes out and check the IR sensor. So you know, I don't know if you can see that lighting up or not. Don't look like it really. Yeah, I guess you can see it. I don't know. Anyways, but this runs. This little board here has got an AT Tiny on it, and it's just super simple. Um, and it just, you know, opens and closes it. Now, the probe pocket. Let me move this out of here. So this probe pocket, basically, it fits in there nice and snug because you don't want it bouncing around. But the square part of the 3D probe, get this out of here, fits into this square pocket here. And so this fits snug into, well, you really don't have a choice but to use this one because of the cable. And it just pops in there nice and snug. It's got a spot for the cord to get out of the way of the dust cover. And yeah. Now one thing that we came up with here is the diameter of what's available for a tool in the pocket. We've now got up to a 30 millimeter opening for ER20, and that's a little bit better for guys that want to use a a V-bit kind of thing, bigger around than a half inch or the flute or the shank size. So,
Talk about the role of the IR sensor for tool recognition real quick. Got a question there.
oh yes. Um, okay. The role of the infrared sensor. It's a brake beam. Um, I don't know if I can bring it up here, but basically, I've got a really good graphic of it. Let's see if I can.
What you can do is share your screen in Discord. Go to Discord, share screen, and then share that screen in Discord, and it'll pop up in your instead of your audio
Okay.
or video.
All right. Problem is, I gotta find this file. Just a second.
So just to recap,
Yeah.
the basic magazine is a tool holder that works with code, and then the premium magazine comes with the dust cover and the IR sensors, which are
Right.
safety, you know, created for optimal function.
Yeah, the IR sensors safety features with 2 zones to check for tools.
They checks for to
Clamping nut
ensure the
specifically.
absence of a clamping nut after unloading in zone 1, and then after loading a tool, it ensures the presence of a clamping nut at zone 1, and then it ensures complete threading at zone 2, and that's the role of the IR sensor in a nutshell.
And so,
Yeah.
do you on it detects misalignment up to a certain millimeter?
The clearance hole in the top of the cap. The clearance hole in the top of the cap is pretty tight. Grab. All right, so the clearance around the clamping nut here is very slight, like 0.1 to 0.6 millimeters, maybe a little bit more, maybe 0.2. And that's really the purpose of that is so that if you're slightly off center with the pocket, it's going to rub. And if you're using it and you're getting any kind of rubbing noise whatsoever, you're fixing to have problems picking it up or dropping it off. It will affect the torque a little bit if it's rubbing. I mean, you should be able to come down in that pocket clean. Now, one way that I'm hoping to be able to do a little more demonstration, I should have, if I hadn't spent a bunch of time this morning messing around with trying to even figure out how we were going to get us all on here, I was going to do a couple quick little videos that I could have showed about some of these simple little things, but
Let me finish answering this question down here.
please.
He asked, in case of after the IR sensor, in case of beam failure, it just stops the whole operation like an e-stop. And no, that's in our solutions that we have, that's not how we handle it. When it's unloading a tool, if it fails there, it attempts one more time, and then if it fails on the second attempt, it will either just rise up to safe clearance, or on some of our integrations, we have a configurable X and Y location that it will go to for a manual change, and it'll go to eventually all of our solutions will have that configurable. And you go to a location, and then it'll pause so that you can manually unload the tool and then continue execution. If it fails when loading a tool, it does not attempt again. It just stops and goes to that manual location or to save clearance and waits for you to manually load the tool that failed, and then it will continue execution with the tool change.
Right. So when I was testing this, testing all the code and getting things to run, and most importantly, when I was testing out the sockets and trying to get it to quit jamming, there I would run into it. Uh, I didn't really care too much if it got out of tram or out a little bit, so I just kind of let it be a little sloppy, and it would fail to pick up the tools at times. So that's when I decided to put the sensors in there because I figured if I'm having trouble at some point, somebody else is probably going to. And if you lose steps, you can, it won't line up perfectly. And then, but the reason for the tight clearance in the cap is just to alert you audibly if you're out of alignment. Um, so we got a question from Nikola Tesla, right on, one of my favorite scientists of all time. What is your experience of starting a business in such a small market? I can imagine it's hard to find your customers. How big do you think it can grow, like amount of customers wise? Okay, that's a good question. Well, it's a small market. I guess. I don't know. The CNC industry is pretty big. It is hard to find customers right now because, up to this point, we haven't done any marketing other than what we're doing here on YouTube and growing a community. Um, yeah, I have a feeling that it's a pretty big market, but it is hard to find customers right now. I think most of that is because, you know, it's such a new thing that, understandably, people are skeptical about
Oh,
it, which is healthy.
me or you?
I was, you know, um,
Looks like me.
I never expected it to do what it did when I played with it. So, but I knew that there's a lot of guys out there that would want this because it really is it really is a game changer. I mean, Thomas, he runs the machines now, making them, and he's never had to use wrenches, to change tools. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's pretty neat. Um, I didn't know anything. Well, I mean, I've been in the background while James and my dad have been working on this thing, and just kind of hearing pieces of it here and there. And then back in the end of August, beginning of September, I, started coming on full time and helping out, learning here and there. And just over the last few months, been able to learn quite a bit. And yeah, when I run files, it's push of a button, maybe watch it. At first, the dust covers motors we were using weren't the greatest, so you had to kind of baby it sometimes, watch it, make sure it opens all the way. But ever since we switched to the NEMA 17s, they're a lot better. Uh, Hardly have I seen have I have a I think one tool change. I've had the dust cover stutter out of. I mean, we were making these things all day long. So thousands of tool changes by this time, and it's really smooth. We don't even have the latest model on the machine that we're making them out of. We haven't upgraded that one fully, but it's working great. And yeah, I think maybe one time if I used a pair of wrenches to put a tool on, but that was after changing tools by clicking a button, probably over 100, several hundred times. So it's pretty neat to come into the CNC industry and be able to use it in the shop and have it be fully functional. Don't have to pull out the wrenches. Uh, Less cuss words to get tools changed, and it's a lot easier. There's no doubt about that. It saves time. If anything, we probably baby ours a little bit too much. We could probably run it full automatic. Sit there and watch it start to do the tool change. Once I see that it's picked it up, I'll walk away, let it set the tool, and get back to whatever I was working on. And you get the RPMs and stuff in your head. You hear the ambient noise. So anytime something funky happens or any disrupted noise, you kind of turn your head a little bit and make sure everything's running all right. Um, but yeah, not I have yet to crash the machine. I've seen my dad do it quite a few times, but I haven't done it yet. I did go through one dust cover I had before we switched the motors over. It didn't open all the way or it got stuck and sent a bit through the top of the dust cover trying to make a tool change. But other than that, it's been a growing process, but um, we've definitely learned a lot. I've learned a lot. And it's really getting to be a really solid product that we're all happy to stand behind and keep promoting it and talking to people about it. And yeah, it's awesome. We think that it can definitely be a big product in the market that a lot of people can enjoy. A lot of the thing that pushes us to do this is just bringing the cottage industry back to the United States and growing that market. We're doing this in a shop. There's a lot of CNC operations that are going on, people making money, where it lowers the entry cost into getting into efficient tool changing and higher production levels. Without our ATC system, we wouldn't be able to make nearly as many of these as what we can. I mean, and going up, pushing a button, getting back to work, it increases my productivity quite a bit. And I can see where that if you want to get into ATC, it's a lot cheaper. It's going to save quite a bit of money, and it's very helpful. Very helpful. Yeah.
So, replacement dust covers, we're gonna get that up on the site here so that it's just a lot of work getting these products sorted out and stuff. But that's something that I want to, probably like I don't, I don't know how much they're gonna be, 30 or 40 bucks maybe. It's hard to say really, but try to make them as inexpensive as possible. I realize that um, it's nice to be able to replace one. um, okay, so Nikola Tesla asked about durability test. Um, I have not done it for days. I actually would like to, I have not run it for days, but one day I did run it for 6 hours, and I, it was a 16-second cycle from picking and dropping the tool. It was about 1,500 tool changes, and I didn't notice really anything. The spindle never even warmed up to the temperature it gets when it's cutting a file. So I wasn't, that one of the things that was on my mind was a lot of these spindles are rated for 5 or 8,000 minimum RPMs, and I found that it really just relates to the spindle running under load cutting a file. If it's not under load, our process stalls the spindle for a split second, but over 1,500 tool changes in a row never warmed the spindle up, just maybe just slightly above ambient temperature. And
To clarify, you're running it at a specific speed.
what do you mean?
Running
Like, okay, so ER20, 2.2 kilowatt, I run the spindle at 1,500 RPMs. Now, it will take the sockets will take more than that. Like I've cranked it up to 2,500 RPM just to see if I could destroy the socket, and it didn't. But it's that going from 1500 to 2500 RPMs, there's no appreciable increase in torque. And actually, just before we got on, Thomas and I were playing. I want to do a video where I show the torque. It's kind of hard to measure because you can't measure it going on without some sophisticated programming on the VFD and a lot of math that I don't really even know where to begin. I've just heard that it could be done. But the Neanderthal way to do it is to tighten it down to a known torque and then crack it and see what the differential is between as tight as you got it and where it cracks, because it'll generally be a little less. In my experience, about 2 or 3 foot-pounds. But so I just kind of I couldn't get the video of it perfected to where, yeah, we just ran out of time. But that'll be coming up because I know guys worry about torque. Um, Everybody that's got one, I've never had anybody that's got one say that it doesn't torque it down enough. Um, but
Yeah, I've never had a tool slip or anything like that. No variation
right,
really.
it's kind of subjective. I mean, honestly, it's gonna get it as tight as you would tighten it by hand. Really, I mean, you could probably get it tighter if with a little leverage and whatnot, but the torque never bothered me at all. And but that's a tough one to sell, to somebody that is thinking about it in their mind. How can a spindle with only zero point 0.8 newton meters produce 12 to 15 foot-pounds of torque? And it doesn't have nothing to do with the RPM rating of the spindle. It's all about that spinning and hitting that dead stop, and that dead stop just that wants to keep spinning. It's like if you pulled your car up to your garage and hit the gas, nothing's going to happen. But if you back up 30 feet and hit the gas and then hit the garage, you probably end up inside the garage. So that's really probably the best analogy I've been able to come up with for it, as far as how that's
Like an
pushed.
impact wrench.
Exactly like an impact wrench. Yep. Yep. So I don't know what's going to break first. I would say that the thing that's probably going to break first over thousands of tool changes, the sockets may wear out, but that's, easily replaced. Now I have had guys wear sockets out where, and this is something else I really need to make a video of to give a visual on RPMs. Because if you don't have a tachometer, it's difficult. Most people are used to running their spindles at 12, 15, 18,000 RPMs, and then so guys get into the system. They, you know, if their spindle doesn't run in reverse, there's that, and then lowering being able to lower the RPMs down, between 1,000 and 2,000 RPMs. Um, it's hard to really know if it's how slow it's running. And if you hit it at 4,000 RPMs, you're going to waste it. There's no question about it. It does have a limit on how fast you can go before it just destroys the socket. So, but under normal conditions, they last pretty good. Like I've replaced magazines on my machine just because trying different things and stuff. But I was using polycarbonate slash carbon fiber to print them out of, and that ended up seeming to crumble a little bit. So ABS is what we use for the sockets, and it's it's got enough resiliency that it works pretty good. Unless you bash it too hard. If you bash it too hard, you're gonna loosen them up, and um, so that's kind of a fine point with the right RPMs. I'm working with Mr. Tally Boatwright, who has just been a phenomenal tester for me. Um, Great with this phone. I'll tell you what, it was so enjoyable working on the ER32, getting that tuned in with him, because I could see he's in Florida, I'm in Michigan, and I could see exactly what was going on. I loved it. It was great, man. Great job. I appreciate it so much. He and so there's some fine tuning there that needs to happen, and we've really got I've got a lot of things that I really need to explain about the nuances and things to look for, and you know, um, yeah. So
Yeah, we're gonna be working on video the next few weeks. That's our main priority. This is the whole team right here. So
yeah,
anyone that's
We
gonna
this
get
is
should
all of
stuff
us.
done back end.
we should set up a machine, a small one, or whatever, with a brand new inexpensive spindle, and
And just
put
run
it
it.
on a stream and run it.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
I've
we
been
we
wanting
haven't
to
had a
do
With a
that.
spindle
counter,
yet
we can
sale.
set up a counter
Yeah,
and count how many cycles and put it out there for everybody to see.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. So NC Chip said I broke a socket writing the code. Oh, when you were writing the code for math. So well, at 20,000 RPMs, yeah, that'll do it. Um, right, yeah, and actually Guillaume NC Chips helped me. We were on a I think we were on a Discord like this, and we were working and found that we could crank the. I used to use two in the ER11 sockets. I used 2 points of contact, and that's the way I had it when I sent out the beta test models for ER20. And Guillaume NC Chips was one of our field testers, and so one day we were playing around and cranking up the speed because I was hitting it about 1200 RPMs, and that was before I figured out how to keep it from jamming. And so we were playing around with them, and I think we blew the bearings out at like 2,000 RPM. So I thought, well, maybe I better go to 3 points of contact and distribute that load, and that seemed to take care of it. I actually sent Tally um, sockets with 6 points of contact, but we were getting a little bit of chatter, and I think that it was just too many for he's got a big 4.6 horsepower ER32. So you know those are some pretty big clamping nuts, and it's all about that rotating mass coming to a hard stop. So I'm gonna send him another magazine with and drop it back to 3 and see if it can get a little bit smoother. But I'm sure it's just something fine tuning like that.
So about how long until you expect the 32s to be listed for sale? A
Um,
month?
yeah, probably not any longer than that. Yeah, a month. I just want to make sure that you know that I don't won't have to send out replacements. So, but we're pretty close. I think we're real close. I mean, really, it's pretty much there. I just didn't like the way it sounded. Um, the torque is good, everything's good, but I think it could sound a little better.
And maybe next dive into the software a little bit more. I know Mach 4 is going to be coming out pretty soon, correct?
Yeah,
Mox,
we should.
yeah, yeah. James can talk about
Yeah,
that.
we're working on it. We've about got it. I had the script written out and with a configuration file, but I'm kind of reworking that and getting it all set up to hand out to some testers and have them get started on it. And once we get it, get it out there, get it tested, and know that it's working, we should have a solution in place for people to use, and it'll grow. I've got some help from Dennis out of Australia, helping build a UI for it as well. So yeah, it's going well. I expect it to be available before too long here.
Great. I know we've got a lot of help from the whole community throughout this whole process, from the field testers to everybody helping out with the software. So thank you everyone for that, and helping support the cause of ATC for every CNC.
I was just gonna say there was a question from Sweden about making locally um, um, in Europe or whatever. Yeah, we don't know where this is gonna go, but that's something that we're looking into. Um, because it would be nice to be able to manufacture in Europe and some different places. It's just
We hope
gonna.
so.
We hope so. Uh, you know, we're charting we're in uncharted waters, so it's. Um, but it's a worldwide solution. I mean, that's pretty obvious. We've actually got at least one on every continent, but Antarctica now, and so I think we're up over 20 countries that we've shipped to, and just about half of our magazines are international sales. So it's coming along, and I guess we're about an hour here, so I don't know that I got to everything I wanted to talk about. But I think next week we'll have some things figured out a little bit better, maybe.
And
So
maybe too, is there a way for, like, can they leave questions or comments on this after we're done that maybe we
Yeah.
can
oh,
start
please,
out
yes. All
addressing
right.
next week? Like, if anybody has any questions that they want us to address. So Andrew Luger said
Okay.
Turbo Hal and Linux will run on a Flexi Hal.
Okay, right. So I think I was right. So I think my first thoughts were right. FlexiHal is a controller, a hardware is hardware. And okay, yeah. So yeah, please, if we didn't get to anything, you can leave a question in the comments. That's always good. And I'm hoping to get some guys on that are using it that can talk about their experience with it, and so it's not just us talking about it. So, but really thankful that everybody showed up, and it's I'm really appreciative. I'm appreciative of all the support. Our Discord's almost to 600 people, and it's really great to get all the community support that we've gotten in writing code and just suggestions. And James and I are always available on Discord. DM us if you need a question answered or whatever. I'm not perfect about it, but I definitely will get back to everybody. And yeah, thank you. We appreciate all of you. I built it for you. I really did. Um, I knew guys were gonna like it, and so here we are, putting it out there.
Happy to spread the solution for many.
Yep, yep. Add the
And
version number in the plugin. Will do.
yes, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
We got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
Thanks for being patient with us, and yeah, we'll see you
Uh,
next time.
Appreciate everybody. Thank y'all.
Yep. Thanks for coming out.
Yep. Bye bye. Oh my goodness. Oh wait, I don't think we're done.